Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Joanna Mochadlo, co-founder of Dream Homes Investment, a global real estate consultancy based in Dubai, and partner at Ballantyne's LLP, a law firm based in London that helps businesses and investors grow and expand internationally. I am also a real investor myself, so I understand property decisions not just from the legal but also from an investor point of view. And today's episode is titled Redefining Investment in Paradise. Why Bali? Why Koko Developments? The vision of Rasmus Holst in conversation with Dream Homes Investment. I'm joined here today by my co-host Ravinder Singh Johal. Ravi is my co-founder at Dream Homes Investment and also a partner at Ballantyne's LLP.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Yes, first and foremost, I am a real estate lawyer working for over 20 years with some of the most prolific developers in the UK on commercial and residential projects. As like Joanna, I am a real estate investor as well, and I'm particularly focused on how deals are structured and put into practice and how they perform over time. Joanna has already mentioned that we are the co-founders of Dream Homes Investments, which we created to showcase some of the most exciting international property opportunities across the world, and to give a little bit more insight and due diligence for global investors. Through Dream Homes Investments, we work with some of the most established developers across the world to connect buyers with well-structured, sustainable property investments, always with a strong focus on legal clarity and long-term value. And today, we're really pleased to be speaking with a developer who represents a new wave of lifestyle-led real estate in one of the world's most talked about markets.
Yes, we are delighted to welcome Rasmus Holst, founder and CEO of Koko Development Group, based in Bali. Koko is known for creating community-focused developments that blend lifestyle, wellness, and investment performance. Rasmus, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're looking forward to learning more about your journey and your vision for Bali.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here today.
Great. So let's start by you telling us about a little bit about your background and what led you into real estate development in Bali.
As you mentioned yourself, my name is Rasmus. I am 30 years old. I'm originally from Copenhagen, Denmark. And as many other beautiful people in this world, I came to Bali as a tourist. I was not planned to stay here, but I actually ended up never leaving. My background, I'll say I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and then I would say as a person, I'm in general very curious. I love to meet new people. I love to learn. I love to, as I usually call it, solve the Sudoku. You know, standing in front of, let's call it I don't see it as a problem, but you know, something that you need to solve. Made my first million when I was 12. First million Danish, so that's around 150,000 euro. I was selling luxury goods online, and I think when you figure out in a young age, doesn't matter if it's a young age or older in your life, but I think when you find out in a young age that you can trade a product versus trading a time and actually earning money on it, and you can, you know, it's not rocket science, but if you can make, you know, it's quite simple math. And it's like, okay, I can make $100, $200, $300 per hour selling whatever product, right? So I've never had a job in my life. I've never had any interest in having a job. And when you are self-employed, when you are in charge of your own time, well, then you also need to, you know, make your own day. You need to be out there. You need to be, let's call it, proactive. So I've done a lot of things. I have a financial company in Denmark. I help more than 1,000 companies today with their bookkeeping, their taxes, legal matters. You could say a little bit the same business model as the big four, Price Waterhouse, Deloitte, etc. Except that I've been in festivals, made events, created memories, brought people together. Not that far from what I'm doing today, building resorts and real estate here in Bali. Yeah.
Yes. So how did this even start? The Bali development project? Like, how did you actually first come up with that idea?
I came on holiday here to Bali. And I'll say in general, business is my sport. I like to do stuff. I'm not very good at just, in general, I don't drink, but I'm not very good at drinking and just, laying on the beach. So I think actually it was only 3 weeks into my vacation. I started looking a little bit into, because I was like, you can get a lunch for like $4, but it costs, like rental in Bali it costs more than in Europe. Like there was just something wrong, not wrong, but I was just, how can it be, right? So after 1 month or 2 months, I started renovating a villa. So I rented it for 2 years. That year, we built a co-living called Villa de Creators. So it would be for creators. And I was standing, working my way through. I was painting walls. We got new furniture. And after being in that villa for 3 months, I was like, nope, I'm not gonna build a villa. I'm not gonna build a co-living because I'm not gonna be in this villa anymore. You get to a point. But long story short, I flipped it. I made 100% return of my money. So I rented it for a 2-year period, and then I long-term leased it to a guy. I made 2x my money, and I left the island. And I was still quite curious about real estate in Bali. So I left the island, and then I came back to Bali 3 weeks after, and I bought the first land, and we started the first project.
That sounds quite amazing. I mean, it certainly seems that you're encouraging people to share the dream that you're living in at the moment, and looking at marketing material with Koko. It's certainly an invitation to not just live in paradise, but to have a more sustainable way of living. You describe Koko as a purpose-driven real estate ecosystem. What does that mean in practice, and how is that different from the traditional development company?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. If you look into our, like, let's call it development strategy, or if you look into what we have today, also just to try to give a picture, I started the company first. So what is that? That's 2.5 years ago. We are today around 250 people in the company. We have raised $84 million. We have more than 700 properties in Bali. But like the whole headline about Koko is creating dreams, living them. It's everything. Also, if you've seen our marketing materials, it's not about the property. Look at our Instagram, and then go to 10 other developers in Bali and look at their Instagram. You are going to see a property of, let's say, 1 out of 20 posts. Everything else we communicate about is the lifestyle around it. So if we look into our development strategy from an ecosystem point of view, we are building, the moment we're building 2 fitness clubs, we're building 2 paddle clubs, we're building 2 Pilates clubs, we're building 2 co-workings. We build livings with amenities that talks into lifestyles. We build what we also typically talk about. We build the third space, because you can say in a bigger picture, everything what Koko stands for is community. It's about bringing people together.
Okay.
Which is quite simple, because why? Like, if we take it back to basic, why is people coming on holiday? Like, what is the memories? I'm thinking, I remember as a kid, I've been in Greece. You know why I remember that holiday? Because my family, we met another family, and I became good friends with this little kid. I don't remember his name. I was 8 years old. My point is, a memory is created by information and emotion. I believe in it the same way as I've made events and festivals and brought people together for many years. For me, when I'm sitting with a block plan of building a resort, it's not that far from building a festival. You have the entertainment, you have the bar, you have the music, you have the experiences. That's exactly the same thing I think into in the way we develop our projects. So if we take, for example, a Survey Living, which is one of our big flagship brands, we have investing 250 million. We're building the first 2 now. We are launching the third. So far, that's a portfolio of more than $100 million into that brand. It's way more than just properties.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly very insightful, and it certainly seems that you're developing a steer on community cohesion and being part of a. You're not just buying a real estate. You're actually becoming part of a community, a global community that's looking to relocate in Bali. Joanna?
And giving back to the community as well, right? Because I think this is very important part of what Koko are actually standing out for, which is absolutely great.
Yeah.
But okay, but so let's just now move on to the like how Koko actually came to the existence. Like what gap in the market did you see that inspired you to create Koko? What did you want to do differently from day one?
A little bit like I talked about before, I want to bring people together. But if we take it from, let's say, a market analysis, that's a very big word. But let's take it from a point of Bali. In Bali, you can live in a villa. You can also live in what you call a guest house, or you can live in a hotel. Let's just call it that's the three bricks that we have to play around with. A guest house is very social. You meet a lot of other people because it's like you live in like houses, a little bit like hostel, but you don't live in six people together. Then you have a villa. Villa is like pride. It's nice. You have your privacy. You don't meet anyone. So what you do when you come on holiday and you stay in a villa, you go out of your villa, you go down on a beach club, or you go to a co-work, or you go to a gym, you go to a bar to meet other people and actually have some memories and some stories you can tell when you come back, right? Then you have hotels. Hotels for me is all, that's just my personal opinion, quite unpersonal. Often they have amenities. If you look at it, they have a restaurant, they have a bar, and they have a rooftop. So you can say, my point of view, what I wanted to create with Koko was to take the best from two worlds. We want to take the best from the world of hostel, where you actually meet people, and then we want to mix it up in a more premium version. So last year we got on our first development Koko lifestyle restaurant, I think it was 255-star reviews. And it's not so much about the reviews, it was more just what they were saying. They felt at home. They actually just planned to stay there for 5 days. They ended up staying there for 2 weeks because they met XYZ person, or they joined on this movie night, or they were joining on going to Savaya, this nightclub they want. Like, we host a lot of events to bring people together, and we see it in all of our reviews. The people, they extend their stays. People, they stay long, and it's something they really evaluate.
It's accessible to more people, more types of visitors, right? They can enjoy these three types of living styles in one place, which is a great idea.
Yeah. Just moving on. I mean, part of our journey at Dream Homes Investment is looking at different locations across the world, and obviously Bali has particularly caught our eye. There seems to be quite a lot of there's a growing tourism, or certainly on well-being tourism in Bali, where Bali is the #1 destination. Rasmus, from your perspective, what makes Bali such a strong destination or location, not just for travelers, but for long-term property investors?
Let's say for example, no, we don't need to compare with Dubai. Let's just take it from, for example, a weather point of view. You have 28 to 32 degrees in Bali all year. If you take it from if you take it from a data point of view, I'm a little bit of a numbers guy, as people they typically call me. If you look at AirDNA is data equipment where you can look into rental prices, occupancy rate, and other analyses of markets. Bali is the most stable rental market in the world if you take it from a perspective of occupancy rate, which comes down to that Bali in the bigger picture doesn't have any seasons. It's always good weather. It's not like in Dubai in 6, 7, 8 months per year where it's like 40 to 60 degrees, right? So it becomes too hot or it becomes too cold in the same way as if you have a holiday home in, I don't know, in Mallorca or in Ibiza, right? So from a rental point of view, investment point of view, it's a great market. Like low season Bali is 5% lower compared to high season. It's always a great market. It's travel destination #1 for the whole of Australia, 27 million people. Then you have Europe, you have Malaysia, you have just Bali. It's like Indonesia itself. It's the 4th biggest population in the world. We have 289 million people. It's also just in general domestic. You have a lot of rich people in Indonesia. So not to forget people from Jakarta, domestic travel to Bali. That's the same as you have the south of Spain or south of France. Like Bali is also a big travel destination just for domestic travel.
Yeah. So one thing that investors can look forward to is that the numbers remain consistent and they don't have to worry about seasonal changes. So if buyers were to invest just from an investment point of view, they could be reassured that there will always be there will always be guests or visitors or occupancy, which is something that's not 100% guaranteed in some of the most prolific locations across the world, where it just depends on weather, on good weather.
Yes, that's correct, and it's of course very beautiful as well, because let's face it, it is pretty much paradise that everyone wants to visit at least once in their lifetime. So that's, you know, that's what everyone is talking about and thinking about when they consider Bali. But let's just talk about a little bit more about investment models. So Rasmus, could you explain the different ways investors can participate in Koko projects? So, for example, direct versus fractional ownership, and who each option would be best suited for?
Yeah, so we have a little bit more than 600 clients today across the world from, I don't know, 30 different countries, something similar to that. So to simplify it, we build resorts, we build residential livings. If people that want to invest together with us, for example, then people would invest into one property, which is obviously part of a bigger project, and they would get the rental income from that unit. So typically we have more of the same type, so it will be pooled in the revenue, but in bigger picture, we do everything from A to Z. We help with everything from taxes to legal to we do due diligence on the land before we buy it. In most projects, we have 3 different legal firms that goes in and make a full due diligence. We obviously are investing a lot of money into the things we do. The last project we started, we invested $11 million into the land. So as I don't speak that much client anymore, but as I would say it myself, is that just trust me, you know, we do our groundwork. It's obviously a lot of money. So we do everything from the due diligence to the architectural designs to obviously the branding and the marketing. We have 15 people in our retreat department. So I can say also another thing we're very focused on in the same way as we're sitting on this podcast, which is let's call it a great marketing tool, right? Also, number one reason people they invest with us, they understand our vision, they understand how we differentiate ourselves from the market, and then they understand our branding and our marketing. We're very, very, very strong. I can tell you our first events, 30 to 40% between that of the revenue comes from our social media.
So you've got this holistic approach to investment. You help people actually with all different perspectives, and I suppose you take care of the rental as well, right? You once somebody invests in one of your properties, then they can rest assured that they will be making money on a regular basis. So can you explain a little bit more, because that's from our point of view, the ROI in Bali at the moment is just, you know, cannot be compared to anywhere else in the world. To just give us a little bit more view on that.
The rental market in Bali is quite positive. You can go on ChatGPT yourself. I was saying, if you look in the south of Bali, we talk. If you look at Binging, Suluban, Yang, like Uluwatu in general, you look at something like 20 to 25% increase over the last 3 years. It's wild. It's really become, I don't want like high end, but I'll say as an investor, expect something like an average of like 15%, 15% in let's call it a net profit before. After like operational cost and management fee. So yeah, to answer your question, we do everything from A to Z. We also do the management. So as I typically say to our clients, I'm not here to just finish the construction and then bye. I'm here to open a create a success. It's really where my work actually starts. It is from really taking it and making it a destination.
No, it's very reassuring, and on top of the value and appreciation, it just makes such a perfect sense for people to consider Bali.
Yeah. Well, with Koko developments, you've obviously got quite a diverse range of projects, whether it's by the coastline, by the beach, or further in the jungle. How do you see this diversification strengthen your overall development strategy and allow you to serve different segments of the Bali market?
Yeah, a little bit the same as we spoke about in the beginning with like having an ecosystem. It's also, if you take it from concept and location, For example, now we are launching a 5-star resort in north of Bali. We have another project which is a jungle resort, which obviously are in the jungle, and we have
That looks
project.
exciting.
Arizona is incredible. I was actually, I was actually there earlier this morning to meet with our interior team and just say yes, confirmed, and yes, you got it. Your decision. You're the expert. but you can say everything works together. Like you can have a client or guest, let's call it that, coming and staying in our, let's call it beach resort or a surreal living or Koko Hills in Uluwatu, and through SOPs and so on, all of our staff, they have a complete understanding of like what Koko stands for vision wise, but also what projects we have. And you go in communication. A lot of people, they come to Bali for a longer period of time. When I say a longer period of time, I mean 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? So they're not planning to stay in Uluwatu for 5 weeks. That means that how we think about our development strategy is that we want to be, let's call it a roadmap for people coming to Bali. So we can give them, the different sides of experiences. You can go to the jungle, you can go to the north. We're starting our first project in Lombok within the next 6 months. At the moment, we're going through one of those big due diligence, as I talked about. But that means that we step by step, expanding, so people can travel with Koko wherever they want. If that's Nusa Penida, if that's Lombok, if that's the south, if that's the north, if you want to be close to the beach, if you want to be in the jungle, we have opportunity for you.
Wow.
Okay. Incredible. So with everything, with the different types of developments and the fact that Bali is such a beautiful destination, and with the all year round almost perfect weather and such high returns on investment, can we now consider a little bit about risks? Because for overseas buyers, Bali can sometimes feel quite unfamiliar. So what would you say the key risks investors should be aware of, and how does Koko help mitigate those?
I think in a bigger picture, everything is about understanding. It can feel risky to go on a flight if you don't know how to fly a plane. But if you know how to fly a plane, then it doesn't feel risky, right? So I think that can be a good analog for understanding the journey. We do the most for our clients. In a bigger picture, I'm just an investor. We like, so let's say we look at it a little bit more objective, and you're not looking to invest with us. I think in general, I would do my market research. So you talk with a developer and say, this is number one location. It has the highest occupancy rate. It has the highest rental price. This is, if you want to invest, this is blah, 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 right? Like do your own market research. Like look into it, because if I was selling a project in Ubud, which I am not, we don't have any projects in Ubud for good reasons. It has not very high rental prices. Yeah,
maybe if I can just give you just an example. So if I was concerned about just the types of investment, like whether a development is going to be a leasehold or a freehold, so how would you sort of mitigate that kind of risk and worry that an investor might have?
Again, I think my answer will be everything's about understanding. I don't want to call it a risk. It's just how the market is. It's the same in the UK, as I understand it, that you also are very, very used to have like these very long-term leaseholds, as I understand it from one of my colleagues. So it's not really a risk. It's just having a market understanding. And actually, how I usually say it is that leasehold is like one of the best things that could ever happen to a real estate market, because you can say from a cash flow point of view, you get way better opportunities. With that said, all of our properties are freehold. So when we buy the land, we buy it freehold. We give our clients the opportunity to invest into it on a leasehold, typically of 30 years, or they can invest into the freehold, right?
Okay.
Freehold obviously is more expensive, because then you buy the land completely out. So what we recommend, and I can tell you 99% of our clients, they buy a leasehold because they understand from a cash flow point of view, it makes way better sense.
That's a really good point.
I was just about to say, it doesn't mean that the client, and that's also what comes back to understanding. It doesn't mean that you have a 30-year lease and then you're losing your property. So everything comes back to, let's call it contractual. So what we do is we give our clients a 5-year locked-in price. So within the next 5 years, they can upgrade it, as we call it. They can extend the lease, either with 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, how many years they want, or they can also buy it out freehold. to give them a locked-in price for the next 5 years, and then they can actually buy it out freehold.
I see. Oh, that's great. One thing I'm particularly interested in, and certainly want our listeners to be aware of, is your in-house management team. I've spoken previously with your team about the services that Koko delivers. Could you, just following on from Joanna's question, could you just give just a brief spiel about the benefits of providing this in-house management team for buyers and investors?
Well, you can say if I was the client, I was sitting in Holland, Spain, Portugal, like whatever I do, I just try to make things as simple as possible, even also just for myself. Yeah. I usually start a conversation and say it's actually quite simple, and I would say that comes back to the same with management. Like it requires market research to find a good management team if we are not the one handling it. Why would I give that responsibility to my clients? From our point of view, is to make it simple, make it as a I don't like the word because it's so used, but passive investment.
And there's obviously quite a lot of focus now on Bali as an alternative investment to, let's say, investing in Europe or investing in the Middle East, which is, we all know, is becoming a lot more prominent now. People are looking at alternative investments in Southeast Asia and beyond as well. So with Bali gaining all this kind of recognition as the number one tourist destination, the number one destination for well-being tourism, what do you see are the opportunities and challenges over the next 3 to 5 years for Bali as more and more interest starts to come into Bali? Certainly, there's only a limited amount of land space and so forth as well. So, as a developer, what do you forecast going forward for the next 3 to 5 years?
If we take it from a negative side, or whatever you want to call it, I would call it infrastructure. And that's mainly something like roads, stuff like that. If you put more people, you also need more roads. So that's one of the main / only things I would say is from a negative point of view, that you need really engagement from the government. When you have a destination, let's say, moving as fast as Bali, then you need to have government that is able to follow the same speed, if that makes sense. From a positive point of view, it was a little bit negative, but that's also the only thing I can mention negative, just to be honest. From a positive point of view, like Bali is not a new destination. It's been nominated as island number 1 in the world. I think this year was the 13 year in a row. So I just want to make it clear, it's not that the last 2 years it exploded. Like Bali has been a travel destination. It's changing. It's becoming more exclusive. What is the opportunities? I'll say exactly what I'm investing into. As you mentioned yourself, well-being. For me, luxury is not that you go into a shiny lobby and everything is like super high-end. And for me, luxury is well-being. Wellness tourism, 1 trillion.
Well said. Yes.
And everything we invest into is to the lifestyle of people. Like, I'm building 2 Pilates clubs. We're building a Pilates brand called Azuria Pilates Club. I don't know anything about Pilates, except that every girl on earth loves it. It's like an identity for them, like drinking white wine. And as men, as we've seen in the movie, drink whiskey. It's such a huge thing. We hosted an open air Pilates event for let's just call it 2 months ago, and it was like we had 150 girls attending. So like, for me, we create a reason to stay. You know why Airbnb became $1 billion? Because of their users, because of the people that talked about Airbnb. They made a product that was so good that people automatically became the ambassadors. That's very much the same thought process I work after. If you build a casino and you build properties next to the casino, then people are going to stay in the properties because they want to go to the casino. Then imagine you didn't build a casino and you just build the properties, whatever, out in a desert somewhere, right? Well, then people is not going to stay there. So what if we took the most popular things you have in Bali, well, also worldwide, you also have wellness clubs as a social space in New York and in London and so on. But what if we build number 1 wellness club, number 1 fitness club, number 1 Pilates club, and instead of, like, I've talked about it on a podcast before about the traditional resort model. The traditional resort model, you have 4 walls And all of these amenities, they are
Mhm.
inside for it. That means you need to be a guest to explore it. But what
Yes.
if we took these facilities and we put it on the outside of this mall and we made it public for people? That's a lot of people that goes to a gym on a daily basis just next to
Yeah.
200 cities. I'm
Yeah.
also very, very confident when we open the first Astoria that I say probably 50% of Astoria is going to be rented out just to people who either goes to a Pilates class, come to play paddle, or go and have a gym membership because they want to live next door to their favorite location.
Yeah.
And what's incredible about Bali as well, because not everyone is aware of that, but because it attracts so many different people from different backgrounds, different industries, different countries. And as you said, this wellness and well-being is all, this is where people actually are joined together. They are part of the same community and they actually enjoy it. They love being there. And what you're doing just makes so much sense. It's building those communities, enabling people actually participating in all of those activities together. Yeah, so it's been incredible. And we really enjoyed speaking to you today. So thank you so much for joining us. Your journey and the work you're doing, it's really been incredible to hear about, and you've given us a lot to think about. Yeah, so thank you so much, Rasmus.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Rasmus, in sharing your background into Koko developments and the reason for doing this. And what particularly struck me is your focus on investing in Bali and bringing a sense of community for that. And yeah, so for any of our buyers or investors, if you've got any further questions, please contact ourselves at Dream Homes Investment. We're working quite closely with Koko Developments and we strongly endorse the projects going forward. Once again, Rasmus, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you very much. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.